to the Lunchbox. Today we are reviewing episode 5 of Wandavision. Of course, I am joined today by Lou and Alex. We don't have a germ with us today because we're not sick. No germs here. So before we get into the episode, we're just going to remind you about our giveaway, and Lou will do that.
Yes, we are giving away a pair of Funko Pops right here. To win it, just like, subscribe, and the more comments you have, the more chances of winning. And then we shall announce the winner on episode 9 of this thing. So by episode 9, we'll have a winner. Yay. Free stuff.
Beautiful. Yes.
Cute free stuff. I love them. They're so cute. So jumping in, well, before we really jump into exactly what happened in this episode, how did everyone feel about this episode? Whoever wants to start.
I'll go. I'll return. I'll just touch, because I wasn't there with last week's recap. I'll just touch on it a bit. Last week's episode was fantastic. It and necessary, because it broke away from the mold that the show had going, where each decade was an episode, and they broke away from that just to divulge some information. And I think that was necessary for the more cynical of us, of our viewers, that like, hey, we need something more. It can't be, as Germ puts it, whimsy. It can't all be whimsy, although that's fun, but they really need to tether the reality. And last week they did it, and this week they kind of balanced both. They went back to the sitcom premise, but they also went into the real world and divulged a lot. And I think this is the one that gets my my Marvel nerd hackles up. It's like, oh, there's a lot here that is like that's from a comic book, that could be from a comic book, that's definitely comic book stuff, and I can't wait to talk about it.
So basically what I was gonna say is Alex just said it, so I'm gonna keep it short and simple. What Alex said is what I'm gonna say, so there you go. Except I did maybe I'm not gonna say that I liked it more or less than the previous episode, so it's there. But one detail that I did do is I watched it immediately a second time right after it finished, and then one more before I went to bed.
Ooh.
I liked this episode. I did not like it as much as I liked last week's episode. I appreciate what they tried to do with kind of balancing between like the sitcom and the reality, but I wanted more of either of them. I felt like it was just like little snippets of each, and it kind of left me wanting more in both regards. So I'm hoping we'll find a better balance moving forward. I did do a very similar thing to Lou, though, and I watched the episode. I've watched it 5 times now.
What?
I'm a monster. This was the first time I actually watched it with a friend. We watched it just like through Discord together, and then we spent like 2 hours analyzing it, going by frame by frame by frame, watching it again, and then we watched it like separately multiple times. So I've seen it 5 times. I've nitpicked the absolute business out of it, more than I have for any other one. And that was fun for me, because like Alex said, there were a lot of little things to find in this episode, and I'm sure I'm also finding things that are not even supposed to be there at this point because I've spent too much time looking at it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on it. So of course it is the 80s aesthetic this time. So what do you guys feel about that? Because this is, I think, the most we've seen of the 80s aesthetic so far.
I'm gonna start off. I actually love the 80s. This time I'm more familiar with the show since I grew up in the 80s. So at one point I've seen some of these actual shows that they were referencing to. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was to date the longest episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, the 80s aesthetics was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it definitely took me back. Like Lou said, I also was raised on the 80s, and like it took me back to Growing Pains and Family Ties, Full House, of course. Yeah, everything about it. Just seeing Vision and like the family portrait, like him as a little baby. It just didn't make sense, but it was great. was a big fan of that. It was really cool, very nostalgic for me. Very well done. Like this is the one that was on point for me.
I was not raised on the 80s things at all. I've seen some Full House only because I'm literally named Michelle after Full House. So that's the only reason that I've seen any of it. I'm not familiar with absolutely really anything else. So for me, it didn't have that nostalgic feel, though I can appreciate like the wild outfits, because like when we look back at family photo albums, like my mom had that hair for sure. And it really like, it's a look and I love it. I thought like the costumes were absolutely spectacular. The little baby Vision reminded me of Baby Grinch, and it kind of freaks me out. I didn't like it. It looks so weird because it just looked like a painted baby more. And I know that's honestly probably the point, but it just looked so off that it just, I was losing it at that part. I thought it was so funny. So jumping into the actual episode, this one was, I feel like, meaty. Like a lot of things happened and a lot of things didn't happen. A lot of things were set up. So right away, we had Agnes coming over to visit, and I would describe it as an awkward encounter. How did you guys feel about that scene? Like, was it awkward for you? Like, what would you describe it as?
To me, it just kind of reaffirms that what I guess we were talking about earlier, that Agnes is in the know of these things. Like, she in this episode was really comfortable with what's going on, and Wanda vice versa was just kind of just letting herself be Wanda, like doing the magic, and then we have Vision who's like, the hell is going on here? So yeah, we're seeing a more clear picture of Agnes. Well, for now anyway, we still don't really know who she is, but it's clear that I think she's there to help Wanda for something.
Yeah, Agnes, she is like the big, like I feel like I have mostly everyone else figured out except for Agnes. And the thing is, like, whatever mystery surrounds Agnes could collapse the rest of my theories, because like she has this, she's a knowing player in this game. She knows like what the game is. She knows her role in it, but why is that? No, like, why would Wanda allow this in her personal universe to happen? Like, it's so I think, wait, is she actually Agatha Harkness? Could that be it? Like, I love that idea, but how would that fit in? Or is this like Mephisto? As much as I'm reluctant to say, Lou, could it be? I don't know, but there's something so intriguing about Agnes. Probably the most intriguing part of all this, and just the fact that they use her as a comedy set piece. It kind of takes me back a little.
Yeah, she confuses me.
Right?
The thing that I can't figure out, or like where my brain goes, is what does Wanda think Agnes is doing? Like, because none of the other quote unquote actors or people have like gone to Wanda and been like, should I take the scene again? Like, that's not, you know what I mean? They're not really cognizant of the fact that they're actors. So the fact that Agnes did that to Wanda and Wanda was like, what? Like, it was so uncomfortable from all respects, because obviously Vision's like, did you see that? Like, poor guy, he's being gaslit by Wanda. It's unbelievable. She's like, what? Yeah. There's nothing. And so I just don't get how Agnes is playing this. Like, does Wanda actually think she doesn't know what's going on, or does she know she knows something? Why is she not concerned by this person knowing things the way that she was concerned about Geraldine? Like, there's just some extra little nugget in there that's making me crazy. And that leads me to my first really psychotic, and this is probably my weirdest theory about this episode. So I don't know if you guys can look at your WhatsApp while you're zooming or whatever. Because I want to send you 2 photos that Lou can put these up on the screen, like, for the video if you want.
Yep.
That lead me to a theory that I have dubbed the tiger theory. I checked Twitter and nobody really was talking about this. Like, 2 people had mentioned tigers from this episode, but I swear there's something going on. So this is my crazy theory. So I think Mephisto is the tiger on the table. That's my theory. So,
Yes,
okay.
Michelle, welcome to Club Mephisto.
Yeah, I'm Club Mephisto now because there's something there. There's something extra there because there's a scene with the dog and there's this tiger on the table. And I was watching with my friend. I pointed out to her, I was like, why is this decorative tiger toy on the table? Like, it's perfectly centered. It's right at the front of the frame. Like, we are supposed to notice the stupid tiger. Like, I was losing. I was like, why is it there? Is it going to disappear? Like, I was like watching it like a hawk. I watched the entire scene again to like see if the tiger did anything weird. It didn't. Then upon my next rewatch, I saw the line of Agnes referencing herself as a tiger. And I was like, is that coincidental? Or is she working with the tiger Mephisto? So that's my tiger theory. It's crazy. I just think there's something extra weird happening in there where there's like things in scenes that we are seeing, but we're not supposed to understand them yet. And I think it's all going to kind of come together. And I think the tiger is going to be in it for sure. Because it's so weird. So weird.
The only thing I'm gonna add to that, for I guess, well, from my kind of theory is the Agatha Harkness theory is actually I just realized it literally 2 minutes ago is her name, Agnes. In the comics, it's Agatha, AG, and then Harkness, NESS, and then you combine it, it's Agnes.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's
I
yes,
thought we knew
yes.
this like immediately. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like,
I didn't even think
yeah.
about that till 2 minutes ago. I was like, oh
But it's
shit, I gotta
perfect.
say this.
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, like, what are the odds? Agnes is a really like, I think it's a good name for the time period that it started. That's not the craziest name. So I don't know.
But there's also like a lot of contradicting things, like especially like one of the first trailers where she was dressed as the Wicked Witch of the West, and then that's
Right.
when Vision did his break Wanda spell kind of thing, which is like, "Are you here to help us?" Blah blah blah, and then she sort of goes back. So it's like, oh man, I don't know what to think, but I like the intrigue for sure.
Yeah. So moving on, of course, in one of the things that we see Agnes be really chill about is the fact that the kids decide to age up. So they go from being babies to being 5-year-olds in that very, very first scene. What did you guys think about that? And we can talk about the general aging up of the children because that happened a couple times.
I mean, like that's like one of those kids or one of those things that in sitcoms tends to happen between seasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What's the little kid's name? Nikki, I think.
Nikki.
He went from a baby to like 4 or 5 years old. Meanwhile, everyone else was roughly still the same age. It's like, okay, we're going with this now. So, I mean, it's a strange thing that. So Wanda apparently created these two life forms, and they have their own free will to age themselves up. So much so to the point that Wanda has to convince them not to age up, to run away from their sadness. So I think that's like a little bit of foreshadowing that Wanda's creations are going to start getting away from her. And her creations so far are those kids, possibly the cliffhanger of the episode, which we'll discuss later.
Yeah, and then the only thing I'd like to add to that is like how the kids were aging. It seems like there's something going on because even when they were like babies, when Wanda tried to make them stop crying, like her magic wouldn't work on her. Just the same as the stork, her magic wouldn't work on the stork. I mean, the theory then was it was Germ where she said that maybe it's just because she's pregnant and all these things are going on, but now that she has the babies, she can't control them. She can't do any magic to them.
Interesting. The kids make me super uncomfortable. There's something about them that just like screams wrong to me. I mean, the fact that they're there screams wrong. Like there's just something about them that makes me, anytime they're on the screen, just makes me like ooh, I don't know. I just like really don't trust children. No, especially because we had mentioned, and this also relates to the dog. We had mentioned, I want to say like episode 2, that we had seen no kids and no animals. And this episode, we have the dog showing up, and then we have the kids, and like they're just so fabricated that I just can't trust them as being like real things. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't have a real theory on like what their deal is. Just like they don't belong. It's very wrong, and that's the vibes that I'm getting from these little demon children. I've also watched too many horror movies with demon children, so that's where my head goes automatically when kids are weird. So
I do want to add another thing about like Wanda's creations getting away from her. I don't know if this is on our docket to discuss, but when Monica had those tests taken of hers, one of them like it was an X-ray, and it was just a blinding light. And like, because I've read the comics, I know that that's a manifestation of her powers. Just her photon powers are just bright light. So that's, to me, what's happening with those test results. That like that's a manifestation of Monica's powers, and like Scarlet Witch gave Monica those powers, and that's just like out of her hands. It's out of Wanda's reality now, and it's just in the real world, and that's Monica's just her own business now.
Like she triggered a certain gene to activate itself, right?
There we go.
There you go.
That's it.
Well,
you know it, Lou. You know it.
Speaking of kind of outside of Westview, I was gonna say Westworld. My brain, I don't know. Westview. Outside of that, of course, Alex kind of brought up that Monica had her test. Then we do see the debriefing from Hayward. That's the guy's name that we couldn't remember last week, who could potentially be bad. And this episode makes me definitely think he's bad, because he seems to be looking for an excuse to murder Wanda, just straight up point blank. So even when Jimmy is doing his presentation of like, here's the background of Wanda, here's her, her history, Hayward's very quick to like be like, oh, and then they joined Hydra, and then she attacked the Avengers, and then Lagos in Germany happened, and so what did you guys think about kind of how that's all playing out on the outside now?
So I definitely think that he has something up his sleeve. Like, how evil is he? Like, is he the main like villain? I'm not sure, but there was this one scene in episode, I'd maybe the 3rd episode, where every if you notice, every hexagon shape is kind of within the bubble, except for some plaques and stuff in his office that they're arranged. I'll find it and I'll show you the plaques in his office, but they're hexagonal, that shape. And but also another thought is, it's almost kind of too obvious that he's the villain, that he might not be. It's like, hey, maybe he's actually just a dick in real life, but he's trying to do good. So it's hard to make out right now, but maybe I'm iffy with him.
Yeah, my initial thought was like, hey, this dude has something to hide. And what that could be, I mean, we did see Scarlet Witch grabbing Vision's body, but doesn't that tell you that, like, what were they doing with the Vision's body? Like, against his wishes, they were working on it. So were they trying to bring it back online as like a soldier for, let's say, SWORD? Is that why director Hayward was so quick to try to kill Scarlet Witch, kind of like to silence her? It's possible. I don't know, but it does seem he has something to hide.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Like, I thought it was really interesting that they made a point of mentioning whatever section it was in the Accords, that Vision is just supposed to not be donated to science, just let him be dead. It's also in his will. And then they, like, you could kind of see from the video footage of her stealing his body that his
they
body
dissected the shit out of him.
It was not the way it was when we saw it last. So there was definitely like some type of experimentation going on that was not approved by Vision. And so it's like, Hayward, you're getting mad at Wanda for bringing back her love, but you're like also dissecting his dead body. Like, bro, pick a side here. While we're talking about kind of the outside world, there was a couple of mentions of other Marvel characters that I wanted to talk about. Particularly when Monica is talking to Darcy and our buddy Jimmy. They're trying to figure out like how to get back into the hacks, as it's now called. And there's two drops of potential people. There's obviously there's a very clear mention of Captain Marvel when Jimmy is arguing that Captain Marvel is just as powerful as Scarlet Witch. She could have taken on Thanos, all of that. And then, of course, I'm sure you guys noticed this, the mention of the aerospace engineer. And
Yeah.
I know who I think it is. Do you want to say who you think it is? Because I'm sure we probably all agree. Maybe.
I'm gonna say it's
time?
Blue Marvel.
Oh, that'd be a cool twist. That'd be a cool.
But
twist.
I don't think they'd make him show up just yet.
I mean, I'm sure. You know, like Reed Richards, of course. Everybody wants it to be Reed Richards, but would they have Reed Richards appear for the first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe on like the 6th or 7th episode of one of their TV shows? I don't think so. I have a feeling it's probably gonna be someone else. Which character? I don't know.
Hank McCoy?
But, oh my God!
It's a possibility.
No, he's not aerospace.
No, he's not. No.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a bio.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
He's the science of the body, not of the space.
Yeah.
Could
That'd
be
be
somebody
cool.
else. Fantastic.
Forge.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. No.
That could be interesting.
Marvel has a ton of geniuses to throw around.
But also, it's how is it going to be John Krasinski? Because he's already playing Jimmy Woo. I mean, if you get that joke, then if you don't, sorry.
That was a good one. That was good. It took me a second, but because I've literally never seen The Office, but I've seen that clip, so I was like, I know what you're talking about.
Hey, hats off to you for not seeing Race.
So we kind of touched on the fact that there's a dog in this episode named Sparky. I'm sure you comic book people can have a lot to add to that, because I didn't know what that reference was until my friend told me. I was like, cool, that's a cool dog.
Never actually. I know of the that series where Vision moves to like the suburbs with other synthezoid wife and children. So I don't really have any notes about the dog except the fact that I think he was trying to kill himself. Like first with the outlet, and then I'm pretty sure he knew dogs know
He ate the bush.
the poisons. I think he was just
They
trying to kill
don't. Dogs do not. You're giving dogs way too much credit. Way too much credit. My dog, when we got her, ate an entire Terry's chocolate orange. Like,
oh no,
chocolate's a poison. And I'm pretty sure didn't want to die because she is still here, still kicking, and she's old.
This dog, Sparky, did want to die.
Yeah, maybe Sparky's like, it feels weird being here. I just got poofed out of nowhere. I wanted to go back to the abyss. So yeah, the reference to Sparky was apparently that in one of the comic book division has a family, and he creates this little like robot dog, and it's called Sparky, and that's what it is. And I was like, okay, fun, that's cute. It's a cute little callback situation. I'm mad at Marvel for the treatment of Sparky. I'm sorry. How do you give us the first dog we've seen in? I'm trying to think of dogs in Marvel movies, and like, I don't know when we've seen other animals truly. Like, they exist, but like, we don't really. Not many people have pets in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then you're gonna like just straight up murder it in the first half. Like, it's there for one episode. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So
there was that cat in Captain Marvel.
But that doesn't count because it's a flurkin.
Right. It was a flurkin. Right.
When have we seen like a real animal? I mean, that was very cute. He's super cute. He's my favorite character in that movie, but that's not saying much. Yeah. So Sparky the dog meets a tragic end.
R.I.P. Sparky.
So let's talk a little bit about the commercial that we saw this episode. So it was a commercial for Lagos, the paper towel company. So what did you think? Like, obviously, Alex, this again plays into the theory that you'd mentioned. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah, I still maintain that this is Wanda's subconscious just playing itself out. Like the most significant aspects of her past, they keep coming up in the form of these commercials. Lagos as a paper towel, like I forgot the catchphrase, but it's basically like something to clean up your big mistakes. Lagos was her biggest mistake, and Captain America: Civil War, like a misuse of her powers, caused the deaths of quite a few people over there, and subsequently the Superhero Registration Act, that was a huge issue, and yeah, this commercial just plays into that once again. That Lagos was another big circumstance in her life.
So the phrase specifically was, "For when you make a mess, you didn't mean to." So
Yeah,
which exactly is what would happen,
Yes.
right?
that's a good description. So I formulated a new ridiculous theory, because now I'm just all about coming up with the stupidest, wildest theory. So if they're right, I get major credit points, but if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. So this one, the commercial happened and I actually questioned one thing about it. And the thing I questioned was the use of color. It was red. It was quite red. So then I was just thinking about the color red, and my friend and I were kind of having a back and forth about red and things that are red. And obviously Wanda's powers are red. And you know what else is red? One of the Infinity Stones, the Reality Stone. And then I was like, the Infinity Stone. And then I thought about every commercial so far. So now I have a theory about the commercials being tied to the Infinity Stones. So the toaster was power. The watch was time. The Tesseract-shaped bath powders were space. And then this one's reality. There you go.
Oh my lord.
That is exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Is it really?
I was thinking in some way, shape, or form, I need to see like the next few commercials, but I feel like something is making her recreate the Infinity Stones. Like I think it'll boil down to trying to recreate the Infinity Stone, especially the Mind Stone, which Vision kind of really needs to be Vision, and which is what he doesn't have right now. That was kind of where I was going with it.
Interesting.
That's really curious, Michelle. I really like it. Once you started mentioning red, I thought you were gonna turn it into Mephisto, and I was gonna
No.
I was actually smiling a bit. I'm like, yes.
Sorry, no, I didn't get to Mephisto with that. Truthfully, like I don't know much about Mephisto, so I had to do some Googling, but then I do have some Mephisto related theories, but they're just really stupid. No, I don't know. I know Mephisto based on you guys mentioning Mephisto, so I can't actually come up with anything new or relevant that you wouldn't already think of for Mephisto. So that's my thing about the commercials, because I know like the commercials really, they've made me crazy since day one. I know there's an extra purpose, like as we had kind of discussed, and we kind of discussed it last week, in the fact that the commercials are being shown to like Darcy and Jimmy Woo, like it's for their benefit as well. So I just think there's even extra layers. Not that I think Alex's theory is wrong. I think they could both exist simultaneously. So moving on. Pretty much what else happened? I think the only thing we didn't really talk about would be the big thing that happened this episode, like the big reveal, unless we've missed anything. I think that's it.
Maybe I don't know if you guys noticed, just going back a little bit, the mention of Captain Marvel sort of kind of gave Monica the oh no you didn't kind of vibes. What would you guys think about that? Like it was pretty obvious. Like once Jimmy Woo mentioned Captain Marvel, she just goes straight to the board and like, well, we're not talking about that right now. And it was like, wonder what happened.
I mean, like to me, it was like Monica was like, yeah, if Captain Marvel was here, she probably would take care of this in no time. You know, that it looked like it gave me that sort of vibe where it's like, well, if she were here, she could clean this up for us. But yeah, I don't expect to be seeing Captain Marvel. I mean, I think it's been announced that Monica will be appearing in Captain Marvel 2. So that'll make sense. But yeah, up until then, I don't know. It did seem a little like out of place.
Yeah.
I think sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry. I was gonna say, like, I think I got the vibe that she's mad at Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, okay, why? Based on what I've seen and what I know, why do I think she'd be mad? So I came up with kind of two ideas. Number one, she's mad about Captain Marvel like not fighting Thanos originally and allowing the snap to even happen, because that obviously greatly impacted Monica. Because of that, she lost all that time with her mom that she would have had. And maybe she knows that Captain Marvel wasn't there and wasn't part of that original fight, because then they're kind of referencing the fact that Captain Marvel could have done so much had she been there. So I'm wondering if that's kind of like why she's angry, like, oh yeah, well, she showed up late to the fight kind of thing. Or she's kind of adding to that. She's mad that she lost her mom and like Captain Marvel maybe could have saved her in some way. Like, I don't know if Captain Marvel can beat cancer, but like, you know what I mean? You have this all-powerful being who can do anything, and like they let, you know, your mom / their best friend die, and maybe there's some like resentment there. That's all I could think of.
Or to just kind of go with your idea a little bit, I was just thinking maybe that she thinks Captain Marvel was partly responsible for her mom's death because of what she was doing off planet. They are best friends. She could have maybe helped in whatever capacity, right? Just, and maybe she wasn't even there when she died. She was off somewhere else. So
or it's a Dr. Manhattan trip. If you're familiar with Watchmen,
she got cancer because of
cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just really dark, but
might be a little too dark for Marvel, but
Marvel's getting there though. Like they're not pulling that many punches right now. I feel like they're slowly like being meaner. Like, God, I'm still honestly not over Spider-Man getting snapped. Like, I'm never gonna recover. It just devastated me. Like, I'm never gonna get over it. So I'm avoiding watching Endgame for that reason. Infinity War, Endgame, and also I'm avoiding watching Black Panther because it's the one I'm technically on for my like own movie watching things, and I haven't watched anything with Chadwick Boseman in it since he passed, and I feel very emotional thinking about it, and I'm not ready to cry all day. So anyways, let's talk about exciting things of people coming back from the dead potentially.
Yes.
So we see, well, what happens pretty much that leads up to it is that Wanda and Vision have a argument, like a pretty heated argument. They're both ready to use their powers because Vision is upset that Wanda is definitely not telling him everything. After his encounter with Norm, he knows that something crazy is going on, and he's just doesn't understand why Wanda's not explaining it to him. And it seems at the perfect moment, there's a knock on the door, and it is Peter Maximoff, not Pietro, Peter Maximoff. It's Evan Peters, Quicksilver. What did you guys think about that?
I'll start. I am so excited, so happy to see Evan Peters there, like a huge step up, absolute glow up from Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think his name was.
Yeah.
The previous one. So the accent's gone, but the thing is, there's something we didn't talk about. Wanda's accent returns when she's in the real world, but when she's in the sitcom, there is no accent.
There's no accent.
And she hasn't had an accent in like 4 movies. Like, it doesn't make sense. It comes and goes.
You noticed it, right? You noticed
the
accent?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I thought I was the only one. So anyways, Evan Peters, Peter Maximoff, he appears as a cool Uncle Jesse character. And and it's going to be great to see where that goes. Hopefully he's retained his superpowers, but again, I think he will have his powers, and I also think that like this is just another hint that Wanda's creating mutants ever so slowly until like the end of this show, where like they're just going to come back full force, like a ton of mutants.
I was also really happy that one of my favorite X-Men showed up. But also when I think about it, I have so many thoughts about this one. Is like, could it really be, is the simplest answer the right one? Is it actually Quicksilver from the Fox universe? Because if you think about it, he was plucked around the sitcom is
80s.
the 80s, early 90s, right?
Yep.
Wanda mentioned that she can't bring people back from the dead, meaning the Pietro from this time is pretty much gone. So whatever reality warping thing she did, she had to go find somewhere else to find another Pietro, which was from that universe, because the timelines match. It's the 80s, and pluck that. But then also again, when you, on the other hand, it might not be him because that's the easiest answer, right? And I don't think Marvel does it that way. So it could be somebody, it could be actually, as dumb as this sounds, because I'm all in my Mephisto, that could just be Mephisto pretending to be another Pietro.
I unfortunately had this partially spoiled for me. So it sucked. I'm pissed at myself. I'm pissed at the internet. I didn't go looking for it, but I saw a quote from Quicksilver from WandaVision. I didn't see what Quicksilver said it because it was someone had typed it out in a comment box in a freaking YouTube video. So I knew that Quicksilver was going to exist in some capacity. So I was not surprised to see him, but I was surprised to see that version of him, even though we knew that Evan Peters was going to do something. I just didn't think that's how it was going to play out. So I was super hyped. I love Evan Peters. I did a deep dive on his costume, and it's extremely accurate to everything he wore in the other X-Men movies. Like the jacket is almost identical. So timeline, it made sense. Like there weren't too many changes to his appearance, which I thought was really interesting. So same thing that you said, Lou, I thought he was kind of plucked from his timeline and brought in because they were kind of working simultaneously both in the 80s. I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's cool. Then brings me to the mirror. And I don't know if you've seen anything about this online, but I had to do a search on this too. And this is a like prevailing theory that, unlike my tiger theory, a lot of people have some thoughts about this. So in hold on, I wrote down exactly. So if anyone wants to look at it, hold on, I wrote down exactly what time it is. Oh, hold on, it's on my wrong notes. Let me check my other notes. Sorry, 1 second. At exactly 33:21, if anyone wants to go back and watch, there is a shot from behind Quicksilver's head where you see Wanda and the mirror beside her. There is a reflection in the mirror that doesn't match with what's going on. So I'm going to send that to our group now for you to look at. There's a couple of theories like on the internet about it. I saw something different from what other people are seeing. So there's two theories. One, there's the red hand theory, which I disagree with. And two, there's like the gray arm theory, which is the one I buy into. So if you look at the photo and you see the mirror, like there's a blue, I'm gonna like hold it up. There's like a blue arm there.
Yeah, this
right?
blue grayish kind of.
Yeah, but then what's this? To me, that looks like a guiding hand on his arm, guiding him into the room.
That does kind of look like that.
Does it not? Like I actually got chills because I had read the red hand theory thing, and I was like, his hand doesn't look that red because people are like, oh, it's Mephisto, he's got a red hand. I'm like, he's a white dude who's got pink undertones. He's got a red hand. Like, it's fine. But then I looked really closely and I saw that and I was like, I couldn't figure out what that was. I'm like, oh, is that the door frame? Like, what is that shape? So maybe
very creepy.
Yeah,
maybe
it is creepy. I didn't even
Maximoff.
notice it till you just mentioned it, but yeah, that's kind of creepy looking.
It's creepy. So maybe it is Peter Maximoff, but he was plucked from his time by somebody else who's guiding him into this interaction right now. That's the theory I'm going with based on that gray arm.
I just I just assumed the simplest thing where it was like just Wanda plucking out someone that lived in that New Jersey area and just casting her into that role. I was like, all right, here you go, superpowers, you got gray hair now, and you're my brother. Like just that sort of thing. Yeah. Like I didn't really think that she was plucking someone from the Fox universe. I don't know if that's something Disney would do.
But then why would they cast Evan Peters? Do you know what I mean? That's
Playing
Right.
the exact
this-
same role.
That was exactly what my friend said. She was like, it could be anyone. I was like, but then why is it the one actor in the world who's played this character before? Do you know what I mean? It seems like really interesting. Like, yeah, he's spectacular as the character, but it seemed too easy of a choice when you could have literally had any white dude be that character, and it still would have had some impact of, oh, he's been recast, but he's been recast as another Quicksilver. Like, I don't know, it feels hard not to read into it because like it seems like such a specific choice.
And also there's this thing where she was talking with Vision and mentioning that, do you think I'm responsible for everything?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this thing where maybe it's not her. I mean, it's kind of a far out there theory that maybe the kids had something to do with it. Well, at least one of the kids, because we know that one of the kids has her powers, right?
Oh,
the other one has
I'm
speed
on
power.
board.
The other one has
Wiccan.
I'm on board because if you go back to when they asked if she had a brother, she said yes.
Yeah.
She didn't explain that he was dead. She just said he's very far away and it makes me sad. So they're like, oh, let's make mommy happy and let's bring her brother, but they couldn't bring someone back from the dead, so they just brought the other. Oh, that's crazy. I love that. If that's what happened, that'd be really, really cool.
Like, and the kids were there too when she mentioned that we can't bring people back from the dead. So maybe if it was Wiccan, maybe he thought of that. I was like, okay, so let's go find another brother, but not the dead one, right? So yeah.
Or they just didn't understand what far away meant. You know what I mean? She's like, he's far away.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
They are
in another
technically 10.
dimension, because that's a thing that we understand because we're in a pocket dimension right now. Like, who knows? Oh, I love that, Lou. I love that. That's so cool.
The lunchbox stamp of approval. That theory.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
if it's not right, they should have done it that way because that would have been really cool too.
I had to change it up from too much Mephisto, you know.
Yes.
Anything else we wanted to you guys wanted to mention you felt like we didn't touch on, or any other thoughts you had about the episode or crazy predictions? Because I know I've been going off.
If we are going to if we're kind of technically done, I want to ask kind of one question, because I don't know if you've heard about the Luke Skywalker level cameo that was asked by Lizzie Olsen, who, not necessarily who it is, who do you think it is, but who would you like it to be? This is my question to you guys. Who in the which appearance would be to you like the oh shit kind of cameo?
Like my favorite Marvel villain of all time is Magneto. Magneto is her father. That's what I want to see. I have a feeling it'll be Doctor Strange because it'll segue really well into the next Doctor Strange movie. But as far as like what I want to see, I would love to see Eric Lensher. But
yeah, same as Alex.
Cool.
I would like to see either Magneto or Professor X, either of the two.
Yeah. I was gonna say Professor X, though I think it could be. It would just like precedence makes me say Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, just because that seems like, I don't know, the person that would show up randomly in random things, because that's kind of like his role so far. But an X-Men person in general, like any X-Men human, and like specifically as an X-Men human and not as a recasting of somebody else. Like an X-Men for sure would be my ideal.
I'd lose my shit. It was like it was another X-Men.
Yeah. This is unrelated to that really, but I just legitimately just want your opinion. Mordo from Doctor Strange. I watched Doctor Strange last night, and they make him the bad guy in the end scene. And that has not come up at all since that. Do you think he's in Multiverse of Madness? Is that, do we know? Is that a thing? Is he a bad guy?
As far as I know,
he goes and murders that dude.
As far as I know, he is in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna double check, but I heard that he was gonna be in Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, cool. I just like that. I watched it literally last night, and I was like, wait, I don't know the answer to this. Like, it happens, and I was like, this is never mentioned again, and it was bothering me. So Well, this has been another review of WandaVision episode 5. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoy our video, if you have any other theories or comments, let us know in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Of course, we do appreciate it. Hit the bell because that's what the YouTubers tell you to do. It does something, maybe, or nothing. I'm not sure. And yeah, this has been Lunchbox. I'm Michelle. I was joined by Lou and Alex. Thank you so much for watching.